Everyone, this is Dr. Katherine Kelly, and I am once again super excited about being able to bring a book to your world. And this one is the second book in my solo psychology series. This is not the cover yet. Obviously, I'm waiting for the final copy of this, but this is what you can look for. So it's called Depression, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. This is the second book in the series. Now, the Soul of Psychology series has become really a passion of mine, another kind of love of my work kind of project. Because having been in the mental health field for about 38 years now, which is a little hard to believe, I have really started to realize, well, years ago, I started to realize that the psyche and the soul cannot be separated. However, the way that I was trained, the way people are being trained now, the way the medical field is trained, we leave out the soul, and that's not okay. That is not enough in terms of treatment anymore. And again, I've said this over and over again that basically the medical field started with Hippocrates hundreds of years ago, and he and all of his buddies, Galen, Socrates, Plato, everybody, basically said at the time, and it's in the literature, that the soul was present in every illness and in every system in the body, every organ in the body. And yet you don't find anything about training about the soul in medical care now. I was a medical school professor. I've worked in three different medical schools. Nowhere. Don't see it anywhere. From a psychological perspective, Carl Jung was one of the founding fathers of the field of psychology. He believed and knew that the soul was present in everything too. And he wrote about basically the soul, the unconscious, the collective unconscious, the personal unconscious. And yet we weren't trained about the soul. All of that stuff has been left out. But when you look at the work that you do about any mental health concern, you have to think about that there's something deeper going on. We cannot just treat the symptoms. We cannot just get a person to a place where they're managing symptoms if you really want them to heal. Because to me, that's not healing. That is basically getting them to a management perspective and not to a healing perspective. Now, what is soul-based healing and why is it important for the psychological care? I absolutely believe that we have to go from the body, mind, and soul. So we have to look at the biological aspects of any kind of mental health concern. Is there biochemistry off? Is there trauma that has kind of thrown off your energetic system? There's lots of things about the body we do have to look at in terms of mental health care. And then, of course, we look at the mind. What are the thought processes? What are the faulty thoughts? What are the thoughts that have been programmed into us? Where do we function as far as self-esteem or self-worth or self-perspective, self-perception, all of those kinds of things. So there's so much about the mind that we have to address when we're dealing with mental health concerns as well. But if you've addressed the body and the mind and you keep tripping up on yourself, you keep having difficulty, then basically you're going to have a challenge in feeling like you're getting beyond a certain hurdle. And that hurdle is the fact that there's a blockage with traditional treatment in understanding the state of the soul, in understanding that there's something deeper that needs to be addressed and attended to in order for what I call resolution to take place. It's not just management and healing up to a certain level, it's evolving beyond that certain level so that you can get to that depth and clean out the multiple layers of wounds and traumas and different kinds of things that have piled up on us that have held us back. Now, when it comes to depression, for years, I have talked about the fact that depression to me is very much about what I call suppression of the soul. That very essence of who you are has had so many layers of either trauma or stressful events or things that have held you back from being in your truth that you basically cannot feel like you're able to shine your own radiance. I use the word radiance a lot when I talk about the soul. And so if you think about having multiple layers of weighted blankets on you, weighted blankets were a big thing about 10 to 15 years ago, and they've gotten even more. And if you've ever had a weighted blanket on you, it is hard to move. It is hard to roll over. It's hard to shift in your position. It's the same thing with depression. If you have those layers of emotion on you, you have those layers of anything that has traumatized you or suppressed you in a way that's holding you down, holding you back, then that inner self, that sense of you, the essence of who you are, the essence, I call the soul, the essence of who you are, that part of you cannot open up to the expansiveness of who you really are and it holds you back. So that's why I call depression suppression of the soul in most cases, because in most cases, they weren't biologically originated. In many cases, you do have faulty thoughts that come with it or difficult thoughts that come with depression. But as far as the actual essence of what's going on with depression, if you really understand that your soul, that essence of who you are, that radiance, that light within you is being held back or pressed down in one way or another because of whatever life circumstance or circumstances, you're going to feel suppressed. And I can't tell you how many times I've had clients, once they've peeled those layers back, they've realized that they don't have that same depressive feeling. They don't need the medications. They don't need the things that they thought they needed. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had a client tell me, she walked in my office, she sat down, and she said to me, I feel better than I've ever felt. And this is, she's 65, 70, plus 70, probably 72, actually, 71, 72. She's been through years of therapy with previous therapists. She came to me about 7 or 8 years ago, and she sat down in my office and she said, I've never felt this good. I have never thought that I could feel this good. And it's partially because she understands the soul terminology now. She understands some of the things that have been pressing her down. Is there more work to do? Yes. But when someone comes in and says to me, I have never felt this good. I never thought I could feel this good. That's when you know soul healing is taking place. And so it's a super important and affirming part of this. And this book, Depression Treating Body, Mind, and Soul, will give you some of the layers, give you some information about these layers that might be on you. And so this is why this book series has become so important to me, and it is a labor of love, is to help people understand that we do not have to endure mental health concerns. We can heal them, we can evolve beyond them. And yet this series has become such a labor of love for me that I'm already, before I even got this book ready, finished and sent off to my book team to do the editing and get it all, finished up. The next book, which is about trauma, has already started to write itself in my brain and in my soul. And, it's one of those things where I'm okay being a word nerd. I'm okay being the person to bring this stuff to light because not only do I learn a lot, but I want to provide this light to the world. Because basically, when your soul is darkened, when your life is darkened from depression, and you don't have the tools and you don't know how to get out of it, it's terrible. I've been depressed in my life. I have peeled many, many layers away of my own, and that's the only way that I would know how to bring this information to you is if I've lived it myself. So you will see some of my stories, my own stories in this book. This is just a labor of love, but it's also a mission for me as a psychologist and soul healing specialist to get this information out there to help fill in missing blanks and help tie up loose ends for what is not happening in the traditional world. So thank you for listening to this. My book is coming out on the 17th of September 2024. I'm super excited about this. If you order on that day, you're going to get some launch day bonuses. If you look in the post, you're going to see the address to go to if you want to sign up for my newsletter and get information about these bonuses. You're going to have the opportunity to get a managing psychology, or excuse me, managing depression through body, mind, and soul tip sheet that I've created for people. It's a downloadable tip sheet. You will also have the opportunity to enter yourself into a drawing for some aromatherapy oils that are mood boosting. And there's more information to come through that newsletter as well. But just know that this book is one of those things that's a labor of love for me. The energy that you're feeling as I'm talking about this is really written into this book to help people heal and evolve from their mental health concerns. So have a wonderful day. Keep September 17th in mind, and I will look forward to being back soon with more information. Have a great day. Bye-bye.